Hello everyone, my name is Heen, and today I'm going to be showing you some tips and tricks on Obsidian Entertainment's new game, Armored Warfare. Armored Warfare is an entirely different beast from the various other war combat simulators and arcade-style tank warfare games we have seen in the past. Armored Warfare implements tanks and vehicles from the newer generation of wartime technology, from the end of World War II all the way up to present-day armored vehicles. This game also stretches from the standard idea of only having a few tanks or tank destroyers and going as far as to implement armored fighting vehicles and wheeled vehicles alike. Armored Warfare has the following vehicle classes: main battle tanks, light tanks, armored fighting vehicles, tank destroyers, and artillery. In this video, I will showcase each of these classes of Armored Warfare and how the gameplay style of each vehicle type differs so that you will be ready to fight effectively on the battlefield. Main battle tanks are some of the strongest tanks in the game, some boasting incredible mobility, some with powerful guns, and others with strong armor. The main battle tank class does have some common characteristic among most of its members, though. These tanks are large and powerful, boasting guns with high penetration values and usually very strong frontal armor. Although main battle tanks like the Leopard 1 have a very strong gun as well as mobility, the tank does need to sacrifice its armor potential, though. Other main battle tanks like the T-72 and other Soviet or Russian main battle tanks boast a strong turret but a weaker body and still maintain respectable mobility, and the legendary M1 Abrams is a slow main battle tank boasting a massive size, but this tank has a very powerful gun and extremely strong frontal armor. The main battle tanks are often the most important tanks on the battlefield, as they have the largest health pool of any vehicle in the game and have the best capabilities of doing large amounts of damage in short amounts of time. However, these powerful giants don't have particularly good camo and stick out like a sore thumb in the middle of nowhere. Many battle tanks are graced with smoke screens to lay down when crossing a dangerous alleyway or when retreating to reload a shot while artillery is still in play. The importance of smoke screens is definitely a trait of another class of fighting vehicle, the light tank. Light tanks are not particularly weak as they may sound from name alone. Tanks like the M551 Sheridan have a very powerful 152mm gun capable of firing anti-tank guided missiles, while tanks like the M8 Thunderbolt have guns comparable to an M1 Abrams main battle tank, but the mobility of, well, a Thunderbolt. Light tanks in Armored Warfare can have very strong, almost tank destroyer or main battle tank like guns, and still have extremely high mobility. So what's the deal? Why would I play a slow main battle tank when I can play a super fast, elusive light tank and still have devastating firepower? Well, in short, your mobility will come at the sacrifice of armor, and it certainly is a sacrifice. Many vehicles, including light tanks, will shoot at your light tank with high explosive or squash head rounds. These rounds have very little penetration, and your rear and side armor has very little chance of not allowing one of these devastating shells from taking out your crew and important modules. Light tanks have enough frontal armor to usually shrug off most high explosive based shells, but be aware, though, a high explosive shell does not penetrate the M41 Walker Bulldog, and it also doesn't penetrate an M1 Abrams. The damage that the shell will inflict upon both of these vehicles on a non-penetrating shot is very different. The Abrams has much more armor than a Bulldog, making it able to shrug off the shell and take very little damage, while a light tank like the Bulldog may still even lose crew members or a module when taking more damage to health. Which brings me to the next not so bad feature of light tanks. Light tanks, although much smaller than their main battle tank counterparts, boast a very competitive health pool, allowing you to take a few shells and still be a force to be reckoned with. These tanks also have plenty of smoke and mobility to evade enemy fire and have excellent flanking potential. Light tanks also have an ability that, when activated, allows the engine to produce more horsepower for a limited amount of time and go much faster and excel quicker and may possibly even save your life. But going faster than a light tank while using its engine power increase ability is an easy task for a member of the armored fighting vehicles. These armored fighting vehicles have generally weak armament, usually autocannons, but boast extremely high mobility. They are the fastest vehicles on the battlefield, but usually have the weakest guns. Some armored fighting vehicles, however, will have anti-tank guided missiles, like the Terminator 2, and can do serious damage to main battle tanks. Armored fighting vehicles can capture objectives faster and have the ability to designate targets where, for a certain amount of time, the target will appear on the map to allies and take increased damage from all of your teammates during this period. Most armored fighting vehicles are lightly armored and move incredibly fast. The Weasel 2 is an incredibly quick armored fighting vehicle with a very tiny autocannon and may be limited to scouting roles and flanking weaker targets, but also has anti-tank guided missiles for dealing with threats that are hard to dig out. While the Terminator 2 has the armor of the T-72 main battle tank and the same body, making it much larger and slower than the Weasel, but as the name suggests, it is armed to the teeth with autocannons and anti-tank guided missile pods on the sides of the unmanned turret. The place where the armor fighting vehicles lack is certainly hit points. They generally have the lowest health for their tier in terms of vehicles that fight head to head, so you'll need to value an armored fighting vehicle's mobility in order to not be taken out too early. Speaking of vehicles that don't fight head to head, artillery rears its ugly head in Armored Warfare. In other war combat games, artillery has grown a terrible reputation for being the ruiner of all fun, and takes very little skill to master. But in Armored Warfare, this rule has changed drastically. The artillery class includes some of the slowest tanks in the game. They have the lowest hit points in the game, and many of them having less hit points than armored fighting vehicles 2 tiers under them. Artillery does not need to get into head-to-head fights, however. Artillery can sit in the back of the map and cover from all incoming fire and fire away at anyone on the map that the team spots for them. Artillery is mainly reliant on friendly armored fighting vehicles and light tanks to do the majority of spotting for the targets they hit. Artillery lands a large explosive shell near the enemies, causing them some damage and minor module damage. But when artillery lands a shell directly on a vehicle, the damage can be much more severe, and crew and modules can be lost. In Armored Warfare, the artillery is incapable of taking out a target in a single shot, like in other tank arcade games. In fact, many artillery are only capable of doing 200 to 300 damage per hit on a direct hit. This being said, artillery would have to hit any of the main battle tanks at least 6 times before taking them out entirely. Artillery is the main support role in Armored Warfare, and also has the ability of firing smokescreen round to cover teammates in a pinch. But be careful, as artillery's main enemy is artillery. When you fire as artillery, enemy artillery will be able to see your tracer that follows your shell and see a red ping on the map where you fired from. It is important for artillery to remain hidden and to relocate after each shot to prevent counter battery. Enemy players you fire on as artillery that are not playing artillery will receive a warning that you are aiming in and firing on them, and it makes it very hard to hit moving armored fighting vehicles and light tanks. Artillery is excellent for slowly bringing the health of slower main battle tanks or pin down enemies down. If taking out enemy main battle tanks from a safe distance isn't quick enough in artillery, you can always try playing a tank destroyer. Tank destroyers also have wheels and tracks, just like armored fighting vehicles. Tank destroyers generally have less health than light tanks, but more than armored fighting vehicles with a few exceptions. These vehicles have light armor and generally fast mobility to relocate in between shots. Tank destroyers have seriously powerful guns and have better rates of fire than main battle tanks. When playing a tank destroyer, it is important to find good cover in bushes or on hills to have a good view on the enemy without them being able to see you. Tank destroyers also have an ability that allows them to suppress their shot when firing from cover. The ability has a cooldown, but it's very valuable for taking important shots that can influence the outcome of a game. A tank destroyer can easily be taken out when spotted in the open, so these stealthy vehicles need as much camo and mobility as possible. These vehicles should not be taken lightly in terms of their power, as they can quickly take out any other vehicle in the game, including other tank destroyers with their better rate of fire. And that's it. These are all the classes in Armored Warfare. Which one is right for you is really up to practice and testing. Armored Warfare's PvE mode allows you to play against AI, and making a few mistakes there won't cause your teammates or yourself too much grief as it would in a PvP game. If you prefer being right on the front lines, butting heads with other tanks, trying to angle and play your armor effectively, then a main battle tank is right for you. If you prefer a stealth killer without being spotted for an entire game and still being able to take out several enemies, then a tank destroyer might be your best fit. Whatever class of vehicle you end up playing, try to learn the basics of each one and you will be effective on the battlefield. I hope this video was informative and you can use this knowledge when playing Armored Warfare. I will see you all on the battlefield, and this is Heen, signing out.
Good work. The civilians will be safer out of the combat. Nailed them. Target destroyed.